The Poverty Trap of Looking Rich. Why the loudest people in the room are usually broke. Introduction. The Great Financial Illusion. Look around you. Drive through any upscale neighborhood. Walk through the financial district of any major city. Scroll through your social media feed for just 5 minutes. You are being aggressively, relentlessly bombarded by the visual evidence of massive, overflowing wealth. You see the 25-year-old stepping out of a brand new 6-figure luxury sports car. You see the executive with a heavy gold Swiss watch flashing beneath the cuff of a tailored suit. You see your peers posting photos from 5-star resorts in the Maldives, sipping champagne, dripping in designer logos. Your brain, functioning exactly as evolution designed it, to process this visual data and comes to a rapid, logical conclusion. These people are incredibly wealthy. They are winning the game, and I'm falling behind. But what if I told you that your eyes are lying to you? What if I told you that the visual evidence of wealth is, in the modern world, the most inaccurate metric of actual financial success ever created? Welcome to the great financial illusion of the 21st century. The brutal, undeniable mathematical reality is this. The vast majority of the people you see driving luxury cars, wearing designer clothing, and living in massive homes are not wealthy. They are drowning. They are living month to month, paycheck to paycheck, suffocating under a mounting of high-interest consumer debt, auto loans, and maxed-out credit cards. They have traded their future freedom, their peace of mind, and their actual financial security for the temporary, fleeting illusion of status. They are trapped in the poverty trap of looking rich. In our modern, hyper-connected, hyper-consumerist society, the definition of wealth has been catastrophically distorted. We confuse the spending of money with the having of money. If you see someone driving a $100,000 car, the only piece of objective, factual data you know about their finances is that they have $100,000 less than they did before they bought the car, or more likely, that they are legally obligated to pay a bank $1,500 a month for the next 7 years. You do not see their bank account. You do not see their brokerage statements. You only see the money they chose to subtract from their net worth to impress strangers. True wealth is invisible. True wealth is the money that has not been spent. It is the portfolio of index funds quietly compounding in the background. It is the paid-off mortgage. It is the emergency fund that allows you to sleep deeply through an economic recession. True wealth is options. True wealth is freedom. But freedom doesn't have a recognizable logo you can plaster across your chest. Freedom cannot be revved at a stoplight. Freedom is silent. In this extensive masterclass, we are going to violently dismantle the psychology of status. We are going to examine the evolutionary biology that drives you to buy things you don't need, with money you don't have, to impress people you don't even like. We will expose the multi-trillion-dollar luxury and marketing industries that are scientifically engineered to extract your wealth by manipulating your ego. We will dissect the Diderot effect and the invisible chains of lifestyle creep. We will confront the deep, uncomfortable social cost of stealth wealth. What happens when you refuse to play the status game and trigger the insecurities of your friends and family? And finally, we will build the psychological blueprint of the true 1%. You will learn to assassinate your financial ego, weaponize anonymity, and transform your income into an unbreakable fortress of generational wealth. If you want to continue playing the game of pretend, if your highest ambition is to look rich to the people passing you on the street, turn this audio off right now. Go back to the mall. Go back to sleep. But if you are ready to wake up, If you are tired of the anxiety of the credit card statement, if you are ready to trade the heavy, suffocating armor of fake status for the quiet, unshakable power of absolute financial freedom, then listen closely. It is time to kill the illusion. Chapter 1: The Biology of Status and Costly Signaling Theory. To defeat the enemy of consumerism, you must first understand why you are so susceptible to it. You must understand that the desire to buy a luxury watch or a high-end car is not a modern phenomenon. It is an ancient, biological imperative hardwired into the deepest, oldest parts of your brain. To understand why the 21st century human bankrupts themselves for a designer handbag, we must look at the peacock. In the realm of evolutionary biology, the peacock's tail is a bizarre, seemingly illogical vulnerability. It is massive, heavy, and brightly colored. It makes the male peacock slow, clumsy, and highly visible to predators. Logically, evolution should have selected against such a dangerous trait. So why does it exist? Biologists call this costly signaling theory. The peacock's tail exists specifically because it is a massive handicap. The male peacock is subconsciously broadcasting a message to potential mates. Look at me. I have such immense genetics. I am so fast, strong, and healthy that I can survive in this dangerous jungle, even while dragging around this massive, heavy, glowing target on my back. The handicap is the proof of the power. The female peahen selects the mate with the most extravagant tail because he has proven he possesses a surplus of biological wealth. Human beings are mammals. We operate on the exact same biological software. But instead of growing massive feathers, we utilize external physical objects to signal our biological and economic surplus. The handicap of the Rolex. When a man buys a $20,000 Rolex watch, he is not buying a device to tell time. A $10 digital watch from a gas station tells time far more accurately than a mechanical Rolex. He is executing a costly signal. He is strapping a biological handicap to his wrist. Subconsciously, he is broadcasting a message to the tribe. Look at me. I have such immense surplus of resources. I am so capable of surviving and thriving in this economy that I can literally throw away $20,000 on a useless piece of jewelry, and it doesn't affect my survival in the slightest. For our ancient hunter-gatherer ancestors, status was a matter of life and death. The highest status individuals in the tribe got the best food, the safest sleeping arrangements, and the most desirable mates. If your status dropped, you were pushed to the edge of the fire. You starved. Your brain evolved over millions of years to be exquisitely, painfully hypersensitive to your social status. When you acquire a status symbol, your brain rewards you with a massive, intoxicating hit of dopamine and serotonin. It feels like survival. When you perceive your status dropping, when you see your neighbor buy a newer car than yours, your brain releases cortisol. You feel a deep, gnawing anxiety. You feel like you are being pushed to the edge of the fire. The modern glitch. In the ancient world, costly signaling was accurate. You could not fake having a surplus of mammoth meat. You could not fake being the best hunter. Status symbols were directly tied to actual physical capability. Welcome to the 21st century. The biological system has experienced a catastrophic, system-wide glitch. The invention of unsecured consumer credit, easy financing, and the 30-year mortgage has completely decoupled the signal of wealth from the reality of wealth. Today, anyone with a pulse and a mediocre credit score can walk into a dealership and lease a BMW. Anyone can swipe a piece of plastic and walk out of a boutique with a Louis Vuitton bag. The costly signal can now be entirely, 100% faked. You are operating a million-year-old brain that is desperately trying to establish dominance and survival by acquiring status symbols. But in the modern economy, acquiring those symbols no longer requires a surplus of wealth. It only requires a willingness to go into massive debt. You are destroying your actual survival to fake the biological signal of survival. You must recognize this biological trap. The next time you feel the burning, urgent desire to upgrade your car, to buy the expensive watch, to upgrade your wardrobe to match your peers, pause. Recognize the ghost of the peacock. Recognize that your amygdala is tricking you. You are not buying an object. You are buying a dopamine hit to soothe your ancient status anxiety. And the price of that temporary chemical hit is your permanent financial enslavement. Chapter 2: The Luxury Trap and the Business of Insecurity. Now that we understand the biological vulnerability, the raw nerve of status anxiety, we must examine the predators that feed upon it. We must look at the fake wealth industry. There is a profound misunderstanding about the luxury goods market. Most people believe that luxury brands, the high-end fashion houses, the luxury car manufacturers, the premium tech companies, make their billions by selling their products to the ultra-wealthy, to the billionaires and the multimillionaires. This is mathematically false. There are not enough billionaires on planet Earth to sustain the massive, multi-trillion-dollar luxury conglomerates. If Louis Vuitton or Gucci only sold to the actual 1%, they would go bankrupt in a week. The true target demographic of the luxury industry is not the wealthy. It is the insecure middle class and the highly paid but broke upper middle class. The luxury industry is a psychological extraction machine. It does not sell leather or metal or engines. It sells the illusion of belonging. It sells the temporary relief of status anxiety. The democratization of luxury. Look at the business model of Bernard Arnault, the CEO of LVMH and frequently one of the richest men in the world. He built his empire on a brilliant, deeply cynical psychological insight. True luxury used to be bespoke. It was a custom-made suit crafted by a tailor over 3 months for a specific aristocrat. It was inaccessible to the masses. The modern luxury conglomerates realized they could mass-produce items in factories for pennies on the dollar, slap a recognizable logo on them, and sell them at a 5,000% markup to the middle class by marketing them as a ticket into the elite club. They sell perfumes, sunglasses, belts, and entry-level handbags. These are the accessible luxury items. When a middle-class office worker saves up for 3 months or maxes out a credit card to buy a $1,500 designer bag with a massive logo on it, they are not buying a bag, they are buying a psychological shield. They are wearing that logo to scream to the world, "I am not average, I am successful, please respect me." The irony is profound and devastating. The ultra-wealthy, the true generational elite, rarely wear clothes covered in massive, flashy logos. They do not need to prove they have money, they actually have it. They wear unbranded, bespoke items, stealth wealth. The massive, recognizable logos are exclusively designed for and sold to the people who are desperate to look rich. When you buy the flashy luxury item, you are not signaling to the wealthy that you are one of them. You are signaling to the wealthy that you are insecure, financially illiterate, and desperate for external validation. You are advertising your own psychological weakness. The social media accelerant. This psychological extraction has been hyper-accelerated by the greatest engine of human insecurity ever invented, social media. Before Instagram and TikTok, your status was only compared to your immediate physical neighbors. If you had the nicest house on your street, you felt successful. Today, your brain is forced to compare your behind-the-scenes reality with the highly curated, perfectly filtered, artificially enhanced highlight reels of billionaires, celebrities, and thousands of influencers from across the globe. You are exposed to a daily, relentless digital bombardment of private jets, exotic vacations, and flawless aesthetics. The algorithm is scientifically engineered to make you feel inadequate. It is designed to trigger your evolutionary status anxiety. Why? Because an inadequate, anxious person is a highly profitable consumer. When you feel bad about your life, when you feel like you are falling behind, you seek immediate psychological comfort. You seek a dopamine hit to restore your perceived status. You buy the shoes, you finance the car, you book the vacation on a credit card. You feed the machine. To build unbreakable wealth, you must build a psychological firewall against the luxury industry and the algorithm. You must see the advertisements not as offers of a better life, but as hostile attempts to extract your freedom. Every time you see an ad for a luxury car, translate the underlying message in your mind. Give us your next 5 years of labor, and we will give you a piece of metal that will briefly make your neighbors jealous before it depreciates into worthlessness. Refuse the trade. Starve the machine. Chapter 3. The Diderot Effect and the Invisible Chains of Creep. Even if you successfully dodge the overt luxury trap, there is a far more subtle, insidious psychological mechanism that keeps high-income earners perpetually broke. It is a slow, silent poison. It is called lifestyle creep, and its foundational mechanism was perfectly described over 200 years ago by the French philosopher Denis Diderot. The Curse of the Scarlet Robe. Diderot was a brilliant writer, but for most of his life he lived in poverty. In 1765, Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, heard of his financial struggles and essentially bought his entire library, paying him a massive sum of money up front. Suddenly, Diderot had wealth. Shortly after his windfall, he acquired a beautiful, incredibly luxurious scarlet robe. Diderot loved the robe. But as he sat in his study wearing this magnificent garment, he began to notice something deeply unsettling. His old, battered writing desk suddenly looked incredibly shabby in comparison to the luxurious robe. So he bought a new, expensive mahogany desk. But with the new desk and the new robe, his old ragged tapestry on the wall looked entirely out of place. So he bought a beautiful new tapestry. Then the chairs looked cheap, so he replaced the chairs. Then the artwork. Within a few months, Diderot had entirely depleted his massive windfall, upgrading his entire life to match the standards set by the single scarlet robe. He famously wrote an essay titled "Regrets on Parting with My Old Dressing Gown." In it, he stated, "I was absolute master of my old dressing gown, but I have become a slave to my new one." This is the Diderot effect. It states that the acquisition of a new possession often creates a spiral of consumption, leading you to acquire more new things in order to maintain a cohesive psychological standard of identity. The modern Diderot spiral. You see the Diderot effect everywhere in the modern middle class. You get a promotion at work, a $15,000 raise. You decide to reward yourself by upgrading from your reliable Honda to a brand new entry-level luxury sedan, an Audi or a Mercedes. But when you park the new Mercedes in the driveway of your modest starter home, the house suddenly feels inadequate. The car belongs in a nicer neighborhood. So 2 years later, you upgrade the house, taking on a massive new mortgage. But when you move into the massive new house, your old IKEA furniture looks ridiculous in the grand living room. So you finance $20,000 worth of new, high-end furniture. Now you live in an elite neighborhood, which means you are interacting with elite neighbors. You can't invite them over and serve them cheap wine. You can't wear your old worn-out clothes to the country club. The spiral continues. 10 years later, your income has tripled. You make $200,000 a year. You look incredibly successful, but your bank account is at zero. Your stress levels are through the roof. You are trapped in a golden cage. You are a slave to your new dressing gown. Parkinson's law of money. The Diderot effect is amplified by another brutal reality known as Parkinson's law. In business, Parkinson's law states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself a week to write a report, it will take a week. If you give yourself 2 hours, it takes 2 hours. When applied to personal finance, Parkinson's law states that expenses expand to match income. No matter how much money a financially illiterate person makes, they will subconsciously find a way to spend exactly that amount, and usually a little bit more. When they make $50,000 a year, they spend $50,000. When they make $100,000, they suddenly discover needs they never knew they had: better food, nicer vacations, private schools, and they spend $100,000. This is why you constantly read stories about lottery winners and professional athletes who make hundreds of millions of dollars and declare bankruptcy 5 years later. They did not understand the Diderot effect. They allowed Parkinson's law to control their reality. Practice application. 1. The wedge and the 24-hour rule. To build unbreakable wealth, you must violently break Parkinson's law. You must drive a wedge between your income and your lifestyle. When your income increases, your lifestyle must remain entirely, ruthlessly static. If you get a $10,000 raise tomorrow, that money does not exist for your consumption. You do not upgrade the car. You do not upgrade the wardrobe. You take 100% of that new income and immediately, automatically, funnel it into investments, debt reduction, or asset acquisition. You live like the person you were yesterday while investing with the income you make today. Furthermore, to defeat the Diderot effect, you must implement the 24-hour rule for all non-essential purchases. When you feel the sudden burning dopamine urge to buy the new watch, the new phone, or the new designer jacket, you are not allowed to buy it in that moment. You must physically walk out of the store or close the browser tab. You must wait a minimum of 24 hours. During that 24 hours, the dopamine spike will crash. Your rational prefrontal cortex will come back online. You will ask yourself, do I actually need this, or am I buying a scarlet robe that will force me to upgrade the rest of my life? In 9 out of 10 cases, the urge to purchase will evaporate entirely. You master the impulse, and you protect the wealth. Chapter 4. The Debt Trap. How the System Farms Your Labor. We have covered the biological urges and the psychological spirals. Now we must look at the actual mechanism of extraction. We must look at the chains that bind the modern slave. We must talk about debt. In the ancient world, slavery was maintained by physical chains, whips, and the threat of violence. It was a crude, inefficient system. The modern financial system is infinitely more sophisticated. The modern system does not require physical chains. It does not require violence. It simply requires you to want a lifestyle you cannot afford. It utilizes your own ego to forge your chains, and it calls those chains credit. The mathematics of enslavement. When you take out a loan to buy a depreciating asset, a car, a vacation, a wardrobe, you are committing an act of financial self-mutilation. You are taking the labor you have not even performed yet, the hours of your life you will spend working next month, next year, and 5 years from now, and you are signing them over to a massive financial institution. Let us look at the cold, brutal mathematics of the most toxic, wealth-destroying trap in modern society: the auto loan. A car is not an asset. It is a rapidly depreciating piece of heavy machinery. The second you drive a brand new $50,000 car off the dealership lot, it loses 10 to 20% of its value. By year 3, it has lost 40% of its value. The financially illiterate individual walks into the dealership completely blind to the mathematics. They do not negotiate the total price of the car. The salesman uses a dark psychology tactic. They only ask, "What do you want your monthly payment to be?" The amateur says, "I can afford $600 a month." The dealership stretches the loan out to 72 months or even 84 months at an 8% interest rate to hit that magical $600 number. The amateur drives away feeling like a winner. They get the status symbol. They look rich. But look at the reality. For the next 6 years of their limited time on Earth, the first $600 they earn every single month does not belong to them. It goes directly to the bank. Over the life of that loan, they will pay $10,000 to $15,000 in pure interest, money that literally vanishes into the ether. And at the end of the 6 years, when they finally own the car outright, what do they have? A 6-year-old battered piece of machinery worth a fraction of what they paid for it. They have spent 6 years of their limited time on Earth laboring to make a bank incredibly wealthy, while simultaneously destroying their own net worth. This is not a financial transaction. It is farming. The bank is the farmer. You are the crop. Your labor is the harvest. The illusion of good debt. The system will try to convince you that there is good debt. They will tell you that utilizing leverage is how the wealthy operate. This is a dangerous half-truth engineered to confuse you. The ultra-wealthy do use debt, but they use it to acquire appreciating assets that generate cash flow, like commercial real estate or business acquisitions. The income produced by the asset pays off the debt, and the wealthy individual keeps the difference. The middle class uses debt to acquire depreciating liabilities, cars, clothes, televisions, and oversized primary residences. There is no cash flow. The debt must be serviced entirely by the sweat of their own brow. Consumer debt is financial cancer. It eats away at your future freedom to fund your present ego. If you are currently carrying credit card debt, auto loans, or personal loans to maintain a lifestyle, you must recognize the terrifying reality of your situation. You are not a free human being. You are an indentured servant to your creditors. Your boss does not own you. Visa and MasterCard own you. If your boss yells at you, you cannot quit because you have a $700 car payment due on the 1st of the month. You have to swallow your pride, bow your head, and keep working. Debt destroys your leverage. Debt destroys your sovereignty. Practice Application 2. The Total Debt Annihilation Protocol. If you want to escape the poverty trap of looking rich, you must treat your consumer debt like an active house fire. You do not manage a fire. You violently, aggressively extinguish it. You must initiate the Total Debt Annihilation Protocol. The ego sacrifice. Tomorrow you will look at the massive, expensive status symbols sitting in your driveway or your closet. If you cannot afford to pay cash for them today, you cannot afford them. Sell the luxury car. Take the massive hit to your ego. Buy a reliable 10-year-old Toyota or Honda for cash. The bleeding stop.
Cut up your credit cards. Literally, take a pair of scissors and destroy the plastic. Remove the digital numbers from your phone and your browser. You will operate on a cash or debit-only basis until your psychology is fully repaired. The avalanche. List your remaining consumer debts from the highest interest rate to the lowest. You will pay the absolute minimum on everything else, and you will throw every single spare dollar of your income, your bonuses, and your tax returns on the highest interest debt until it is dead. Then move to the next. This will be incredibly painful. Your friends will ask why you downgraded your car. They will assume you are failing. Let them think you are failing. Smile. You are trading the illusion of their respect for the reality of your freedom.
Chapter 5. Redefining the asset. Wealth as unspent time. We have dismantled the biology of status, the trap of the luxury industry, and the invisible chains of debt. Now we must completely, permanently redefine what wealth actually is. The ultimate flaw of the person trapped in the cycle of looking rich is that they measure wealth in the wrong metric. They measure wealth in objects. They believe wealth is a 5,000 square foot house with a marble foyer. They believe wealth is a garage full of German engineering. They believe wealth is the ability to walk into a restaurant and order a $1,000 bottle of wine without looking at the price. But objects are heavy. Objects require maintenance, insurance, taxes, and security. Objects are fragile. Objects tie you down to a specific geography and a specific required income. The master of wealth understands a profound esoteric truth. Money has very little to do with objects. Money is simply a physical manifestation of stored energy. Specifically, it is stored time. The time-value equation. Think about how you earn money. You trade the hours of your finite, rapidly decreasing lifespan for dollars. When you work an 8-hour day, you have traded a permanent, unrecoverable piece of your biological existence for a digital number in a bank account. Therefore, when you spend money, you are not spending dollars. You are spending the hours of your life that it took to earn those dollars. If you make $25 an hour after taxes, and you decide to buy a pair of $1,000 designer sneakers to impress your peers, you did not spend $1,000. You spent 40 hours of your actual life. You spent an entire week of waking up to an alarm clock, sitting in traffic, dealing with a boss you dislike, and expending your mental energy just to put a logo on your feet. When you frame every purchase through the time-value equation, the poverty trap of looking rich instantly loses its appeal. Is the new Mercedes worth 2 full years of your life? Is the massive house worth working until you are 70 years old? The person who buys the illusion of wealth is actively destroying the reality of their time. They are voluntarily extending their prison sentence in the workforce. The ultimate asset, unspent freedom. True wealth is not measured in the objects you own. True wealth is the amount of time you have absolute, unquestioned control over. True wealth is the ability to wake up on a Tuesday morning and say, "I can do whatever I want today." It is the ability to walk away from a toxic job without a moment's hesitation because you have 3 years of living expenses sitting in a liquid savings account. It is the ability to start a business, to take a year off to travel, to spend a Wednesday afternoon playing with your children, or to simply sit in a quiet room and read a book without the suffocating anxiety of impending bills. This level of absolute freedom is known as having FU money. It is the ultimate threshold of human sovereignty. When you have FU money, no boss, no corporation, and no creditor has power over your reality. You become an immovable object. You cannot be coerced. You cannot be threatened. But here's the catch. You can never, ever achieve FU money if you are constantly spending your surplus income to maintain the appearance of being rich. Every dollar you save and invest is a soldier you are sending out into the world to capture more time for your future self. When you invest in an index fund and that money compounds over 20 years, it is literally buying back the years of your retirement. Every dollar you spend on a status symbol is a soldier you have executed on the battlefield of your own ego. Practice Application 3, the Freedom Metric Conversion. To internalize this worldview, you must change how you look at price tags. Calculate your true after-tax hourly wage. If you make $80,000 a year, after taxes and the costs of commuting, your true hourly wage might be around $25. For the next 30 days, you are not allowed to look at prices in terms of dollars. You must instantly convert them into life hours. When you look at a $50 dinner out, you must say, "That is 2 hours of my life." When you look at a $1,500 phone upgrade, you must say, "That is 60 hours of my life." Before every purchase, ask yourself the defining question of the true wealthy. Is this object worth sacrificing this specific amount of my finite freedom? When you value your time more than you value the opinions of strangers, you will stop buying the objects and you will start buying your freedom. Chapter 6. The Ego Death and the Psychology of Stealth Wealth. We have reached the most difficult, excruciating part of the journey. The mechanics of building wealth are incredibly simple. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference in broad market index funds, avoid debt, and wait 30 years. The math is elementary school level. So why are so few people wealthy? Because the math is simple, but the psychology is agonizing. To escape the poverty trap of looking rich, you must undergo a profound, terrifying psychological process. You must assassinate your financial ego. The agony of being underestimated. When you decide to stop playing the status game, when you sell the luxury car, when you stop wearing the logos, and when you move into a modest house well below your means, the world will treat you differently, and the world will not treat you better. Human society is ruthlessly hierarchical. When you interact with a stranger, a bank teller, a waiter, or a business prospect, they will instantly thin-slice your appearance to determine your status. If you are wearing a 10-year-old Casio, a plain t-shirt, and driving a battered Honda, they will subconsciously categorize you as low status. They will not give you the fawning respect they give to the man in the bespoke suit and the Porsche. They will underestimate you. They might dismiss you entirely. Your ego will absolutely scream in agony. Every fiber of your biological programming will demand that you flash a bank statement or mention your net worth or buy something expensive just to prove to this random stranger that you are actually successful. Don't they know who I am? Don't they know I have $1 million in liquid assets? I shouldn't be treated like this. You must let the ego burn. You must let it die. The master of wealth understands that the need to be recognized as wealthy is the very weakness that keeps people poor. The master craves to be underestimated. When you are underestimated, you have the element of surprise. You face lower expectations. You avoid the parasites, the scammers, and the fake friends who are attracted to the smell of money. You move through the world invisibly. This is the paradigm of stealth wealth. The uniform of the elite. Look at the true titans of modern wealth. Look at Warren Buffett living in the same modest house in Omaha he bought in 1958. Look at Mark Zuckerberg famously wearing the exact same plain gray t-shirt every single day. They are not doing this to be frugal. They are doing it to eliminate decision fatigue, but more importantly, they are operating entirely beyond the realm of status signaling. Their power is so absolute, their reality so unshakable, that they do not require the validation of a logo to prove their existence. You must adopt the mindset of the stealth wealth operative. You are a spy in the modern economy. Your mission is to accumulate massive, unstoppable resources without ever drawing attention to your stockpile.
You want to be the guy in the checkout line who looks like he manages a hardware store, but who could buy the entire building in cash if he wanted to. There's an intoxicating, quiet, dark power in knowing a secret about yourself that the rest of the world is entirely blind to. When the man in the leased Porsche cuts you off in traffic to assert his dominance, you don't get angry. You smile. You smile the quiet, knowing smile of a king dressed as a peasant. You know his net worth is negative. You know he is a slave to his payment. You know you are free. You do not need to prove it to him. You only need to prove it to your broker. Practice application 4, the anonymity drill. You must actively practice suppressing your financial ego. The next time you achieve a significant financial milestone, you pay off a massive debt, your net worth hits a new threshold, or you receive a large bonus, you are forbidden from sharing it. You cannot post about it on social media. You cannot casually mention it to your friends at the bar. You cannot buy a reward item that broadcasts your success to the world. You must swallow the victory entirely. Let it sit silently in your bank account. Experience the psychological friction of achieving greatness and receiving absolutely no external validation for it. It will be uncomfortable at first, but eventually you will realize that external validation is hollow, fleeting, and addictive. Internal validation, the cold, hard knowledge of your own unshakable security, is permanent. Master the silence. Become the ghost in the machine.
Chapter 7. The Social Cost. Navigating the Crab Bucket. We must now address the most painful, hidden consequence of stepping off the treadmill of fake wealth. It is the social cost. When you decide to execute the protocols of stealth wealth, when you drastically cut your spending, stop going to the expensive restaurants, refuse to take on debt for luxury vacations, and prioritize your investments over your lifestyle, you will inevitably trigger a violent shockwave in your social circle. You expect your friends and family to be supportive. You expect them to cheer you on as you build a fortress of financial security. You are wrong. In many cases, your newfound financial discipline will not inspire them, it will deeply, profoundly offend them. The psychology of the crab bucket. We must revisit the phenomenon of crab mentality. If you put a single crab in a bucket, it can easily climb out and escape. But if you put a dozen crabs in a bucket, none of them will ever escape. The moment one crab reaches the rim and tries to pull itself to freedom, the other crabs will reach up, grab its legs, and violently pull it back down into the mass. The middle class operates on the exact same psychological principle regarding money. When you were broke, deep in debt, and spending every dollar you earned on status symbols, you fit perfectly into your social circle. You shared the same complaints about the economy, the same anxiety about credit card bills, and the same toxic spending habits. You made them feel comfortable because you validated their choices. But the moment you step out of the matrix, the moment you refuse to buy the round of expensive drinks, the moment you decline the lavish group trip because it doesn't fit your investment goals, you become a walking, talking mirror that reflects their own financial inadequacies back at them. By refusing to participate in the illusion of wealth, you are silently reminding them that they lack the discipline to secure their own future. Your pursuit of actual freedom shines a harsh, unforgiving spotlight on their decision to remain in golden handcuffs. And human beings hate having their financial mediocrity exposed. So what do? They act like the crabs. They will actively, sometimes viciously, try to pull you back down to their level of consumption so they can feel comfortable again. They will use subtle mockery. Oh, look at Mr. Billionaire. You can't even afford to go out to a nice dinner with your friends anymore? You've become so cheap. You need to live a little. They will use guilt. We only live once. Why are you hoarding all this money? You're going to die with a full bank account and no memories. They will actively sabotage you, inviting you to highly expensive, status-driven events where refusing to spend money feels socially humiliating. The pruning of the dead wood. To build unbreakable wealth, you must be prepared to face the absolute, undeniable truth. You cannot take everyone with you to the top of the mountain. If you are surrounded by people who mock your frugality, who constantly pressure you to spend money to validate their egos, and who judge human worth strictly by the logos on a t-shirt, you must ruthlessly prune them from your life. This is the hardest part of the journey. It requires the discipline to stand completely alone. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you spend your time with 5 people who are drowning in auto loans, obsessed with designer labels, and living paycheck to paycheck, you will inevitably become the 6th. The gravitational pull of their toxic financial habits will eventually erode your willpower. You must protect your environment and your psychological energy with the ferocity of a guard dog. You do not need to make a dramatic declaration or start an argument. You simply become unavailable for high-consumption activities. You decline the invitations. You stop participating in the conversations about who bought what. You let the friendships based solely on shared consumption slowly wither and die. In their place, you must actively seek out the quiet outliers. Seek out the individuals who value ideas over objects. Seek out the people who are building businesses, investing in assets, and playing the long game. You will recognize them not by their flashy cars, but by their calmness, their curiosity, and their absolute no need to prove themselves to you. Loneliness is the price of admission to the top 1%. You must learn to thrive in the quiet, unglamorous isolation of the grind, knowing that while they are partying in the illusion, you are silently, methodically purchasing your freedom. Chapter 8. The Blueprint of the 1%. Automating the Empire. We have cleared the biological programming, dismantled the societal illusions, defeated the ego, and survived the social backlash. Now we must build the actual mechanical architecture of your wealth. The final reason the poverty trap of looking rich is so deadly is because it relies on active, continuous decision-making. Every single day, you have to decide whether to buy the coffee, finance the car, or swipe the card. Because human willpower is a highly finite, easily depleted battery, if you rely on willpower to save money, you will eventually fail. The marketing machine is too strong. Your ego is too fragile. The true 1%, the masters of stealth wealth, do not rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They use automation to completely remove their own flawed human psychology from the equation of wealth building. They make saving and investing the default setting of their life, and spending the active, difficult exception. The pay yourself first prime directive. The amateur financial strategy looks like this. Income minus lifestyle expenses equals savings. They get their paycheck, they pay their rent, their massive car loan, they buy groceries, they go out to dinner, they buy the clothes, and at the end of the month, whatever scraps are left over, they toss into a savings account. Usually, the scrap is 0. The master financial strategy violently flips the equation. It is the prime directive of wealth. Pay yourself first. Income minus investments equals lifestyle expenses. Before you pay the landlord, before you pay the electric company, and absolutely before you buy a single item of consumption, you pay your future self. The master sets up their financial architecture so that the exact moment their paycheck hits their checking account, the system automatically, ruthlessly extracts 20%, 30%, or even 50% of the capital. The money is instantly routed into untouchable index funds, Roth IRAs, and high-yield savings accounts. You never see the money. It never sits in your checking account, tempting you to spend it. By the time you wake up on payday, the wealth building has already occurred. You are then forced to adapt your lifestyle to whatever is left over. If you automate a 30% investment rate, your lifestyle will naturally, organically shrink to fit the remaining 70%. You will buy the cheaper car. You will eat out less. The friction of the system forces you into stealth wealth without requiring daily battles of willpower. The philosophy of enough. To sustain this automated system for decades, you must adopt the final, ultimate psychological weapon of the wealthy, the philosophy of enough. The poverty trap of looking rich is driven by the illusion that there is a finish line. If I just get the BMW, I will be happy. If I just get the 4,000 square foot house, I will be satisfied. But, as we learned from the Diderot effect, the goalpost always moves. There is always a faster car. There is always a bigger house. There is always someone on Instagram who makes your life look pathetic. If your goal is to have more, you will run on the treadmill until you drop dead, forever exhausted, forever chasing a horizon that recedes as you approach it. The master defines their enough. They calculate exactly how much money they need to live a peaceful, secure, healthy life. They calculate the number that brings them absolute freedom, and once they cross that threshold, they stop playing the game. They do not upgrade the house. They do not buy the yacht. They recognize that trading any more of their precious, finite time to accumulate surplus zeros on a screen they don't actually need is the ultimate form of irrationality. When you know you're enough, the entire marketing apparatus of the modern world loses its power over you. The advertisements bounce off you like bullets off a tank. You become invulnerable to the social pressures of the crab bucket. You are no longer playing a game of accumulation. You are playing a game of preservation and peace. Practice Application 5. The Automation Audit. Right now, your financial system is perfectly designed to get the exact results you are currently experiencing. If you are broke, your system is designed for poverty. You must execute a hostile takeover of your own finances today. The automatic extraction. Log into your payroll provider or your bank. Set up an automatic transfer that occurs on the 1st and 15th of each month. Start with 15% of your gross income. Route it directly into a broad market S&P 500 index fund or an unlinked high-yield savings account. Do not think about it. Just turn the machine on. The subscriptions purge. Go through your credit card statements for the last 90 days. Ruthlessly execute every single recurring subscription, membership, or service that is strictly essential for your physical survival or your core business. You are bleeding out from 1,000 paper cuts. Stop the bleeding. The Enough Manifesto. Write down on a physical piece of paper your exact definition of a perfect, peaceful life. Note the modest house, the reliable car, the simple meals. Put a price tag on that life. That is your target. Anything beyond that target is a distraction, engineered to steal your time. Build the machine. Automate the discipline. Define your freedom.
Conclusion: the ultimate flex of the invisible sovereign. You have reached the end of the illusion and the beginning of the reality. We began this journey by exposing the great flashing neon lie of modern society. We revealed that the loudest people in the room, the ones draped in logos and revving the engines of financed sports cars, are not the victors of capitalism. They are its primary victims. They are the livestock of the credit card companies, trading their finite time on this earth for the fleeting, addictive illusion of status. You now understand the biological trap of costly signaling and why your brain begs you to buy things you don't need. You have seen the dark, cynical machinery of the luxury industry designed to exploit the insecurities of the middle class. You know the terrifying power of the Diderot effect and how a single upgrade can trigger a spiral of consumption that destroys a lifetime of wealth. You understand the brutal mathematics of debt, the invisible chains that bind you to a job you hate to pay for a lifestyle that brings you no peace. You have learned to look past the objects, to redefine wealth not as the accumulation of heavy, depreciating metal and fabric, but as the accumulation of absolute, unshakable time and freedom. You understand the excruciating, necessary process of the ego death. You know that you must trade the shallow validation of strangers for the quiet, solitary power of stealth wealth. You are prepared to weather the resentment of the crab bucket, to prune the dead wood from your social circle, and to stand alone on the path to sovereignty. And you possess the mechanical blueprint of the 1%. You know that discipline must be automated, that investments must be extracted before the ego can spend them, and that true peace is only found when you boldly, clearly define your enough. There is a famous, profound proverb that states, "Wealth is quiet, rich is loud, poor is flashy." The ultimate flex in the modern world is not stepping out of a Lamborghini. The ultimate flex is walking through a crowded street, wearing plain clothes, entirely unnoticed by the masses, with the absolute, terrifying knowledge that you owe nothing to anyone. The ultimate flex is knowing that if the economy collapses tomorrow, you will sleep soundly. It is knowing that you have bought back your time, your autonomy, and your soul. It is the power of being the invisible sovereign. The next time you feel the pull of the illusion, the next time you see the advertisement, or the neighbor's new car, or the flashing logo, and that ancient, insecure part of your brain whispers, "You need that to be respected. You need that to be enough." Do not argue with the voice. Do not get angry at the illusion. Simply smile. Smile the quiet, untouchable smile of the ghost in the machine. Acknowledge the trap. Anchor your mind in your own profound security. Turn away from the noise, check your portfolio, and disappear back into the quiet work of building your empire. Thank you for confronting the brutal truth with quick audiobooks. If this masterclass has shattered the illusions holding you back and given you the tools to forge true, unbreakable wealth, ensure you subscribe, like, and return for more uncompromising, relentless deep dives into psychology, power, and human potential. Until next time, kill your ego, automate your wealth, and stay invisible.